Hello and welcome into some ECAC action here on Esports U. It is round 5 against now Bruton Parker College and Old Dominion University, the JV edition of the Old Dominion roster. I am myself, Danger Taco, and Relic on the call for today's action here. How you doing, Relic?
Doing really good, my friend. Doing really good. I mean, look, this is always one of those banana peel series in my mind. You got bottom of the table going up against top of the table. But here's the thing. The bottom of the table has a bit of tenacity about them. For Old Dominion, they've always picked up one game in each of the series that they've lost. Admittedly, it is just the one game, and a 4-1 score never looks good in a best of 7. But it does give me hope that maybe something special can happen here today.
Yes, and this is still regular round-robin play, so it is best of 7 because in our rule set we want to give teams the full expanse of games to be able to get into things and try to make a difference within some of these matches. So being able to get these things going into a best of 7 gives you a lot of games to go through, and being able to pick up a game is highly important for the players all on the side of Bruton Parker as well as Old Dominion. Old Dominion trying to hold it their own, as you mentioned, Relic, bottom of the table. So at this point, due to round-robin, due to the number of teams in these groups, you have to get these dubs through at the end of the day. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty much out of playoff contention if you're trying to get in the top half of the table. Bruton Parker trying to stay there in that #1 position.
Yeah, not looking good if Old Dominion end up losing this series, to be honest with you, on the one solitary point. You'd imagine that their playoff hopes will be done and dusted, and almost immediately off the rip, they find themselves 1-0 down. Thankfully, not on this occasion. Of course, they were able to get their defensive bastions in place in the nick of time. But coming out to play here, BPC, as we should expect from the team that has not lost a game to this point.
Bruton Parker also a representative within Collegiate Rocket League, the largest league within Rocket League, and they're really showing it with the flip reset into the pass. Manny just tapping it home.
It's a lovely pickup from Milk here on that right-hand side. Manages to get over the top of Ace Conjurer. Just not enough lift off, really, to be able to successfully go and challenge that completely unopposed at the far post. As I said, they start like they mean it.
Being able to get all those goals and continue them on is the hallmark of a great team, and they're really going to be styling on it right here. Double tap almost resulting in a second goal, but luckily for the side of Old Dominion, getting to clear out to be able to at least take a breather here, and I think that's half the battle, is just making sure you have enough time to actually collect your thoughts and also your cars as you slowly move forward.
No thoughts, only defense, and that defense is crumbling. Danger Taco. A real shame here for Old Dominion, as it's once again Milk unabashedly driving forward, but it's the call off from Antics, allows Milk to set up for that shooting position, and shooting most certainly does. That defense dragged over to the right-hand side from his position. Unopposed goal yet again, 2-0 up within the first minute.
I do really appreciate from Antics being able to stay consistent on that play. I think it really shows the awareness of a player to be able to make anything into a pass like that one, almost pinching that one directly into the middle and getting as well, kind of a little cuxer pinch from Milk. So Bruton Parker showed off the creativity, which is why they're so far up in the table. It's not just one-dimensional. You really have to cover every single option, it feels like, on the field.
They've been struggling to get downfield, but Old Dominion, I mean, they had a little bit of a moment there to think, oh, maybe now, but also maybe not, or maybe yes. I'm flip-flopping on this. I'm hoping that we see a little bit of perseverance from Old Dominion. Ace Conjurer has certainly done well here to push us towards the backboard. Antics there, marshalling well, however, and that pinch between two guards is going to fly all the way over to the far side of the field. But nice to see them getting on the ball a little bit more now, albeit at 2-0 down. They've got a lot of work to do.
At the end of the day, if you're engaging in the midfield, you can at least have somewhat of a say of how this game is going to go. I like the little steal away from behind, but you can't get the follow-up. Manny hits it with a lot of vinegar on the end of that one for 3-0.
It's a lot more difficult, this shot, than you'd imagine, because you're shooting for that near post. You understand Ace Conjurer's middle of the net, but you're trying to catch that player on the near post out before they realign themselves and actually go for the jumper, which would almost certainly make the save. So that's a really accomplished finish from Manny. And at 3-0 up now, that hill has turned into a mountain for Old Dominion.
They're really just cooking with these flip resets. Again, it's going to be a goal coming through. This time it's Antics, but the supply is even better than the finish. Manny twisting their way through and just putting one on a platter.
If you've not checked in with Bruton Park up until this point, now you can probably see why they've not lost a game. Admittedly, one of those was a forfeit against them, but maybe we also realize, oh, maybe this is why they forfeited. This is such an extraordinarily cracked team, and despite Old Dominion showing some decent signs here and there, they've been not given any sniff of a chance actually in front of net. So for me, Taco, they've just got to try and wrestle a little bit more possession back, maybe go for a shorter passing system, but then again, Broughton Park have so much pace, and the locker of fakes as well, my goodness.
And part of the biggest difficulty about playing against a team like this is that they know how good they are, as Antics is going to tack on another 5th goal here for Broughton Parker, is that a lot of the times when you do see Old Dominion start to come down and get the attacks going, Broughton Parker, they're just waiting because they know that they can probably cover everything. The rotation's clean, all their individual mechanics will be able to kind of slap and parry away anything that Old Dominion brings at them. And that's a tough proposition for the other team because you have to respect the skill, but also not really just be scared to kind of move on forward. So Old Dominion, you have been able to see them take a game off of every single one of their opponents. This pattern is going to be quite the tough one to break, at least based on how this game number one's been going so far.
Oh, I love this as a counter-attacking play. Send your forward player on the bike, misplay, straight into the hands of Milk. Really, if I was to be super picky, should be getting that on target in the first place. But it's the follow-up plans, it's the contingency plans to ensure that they're going to get a second shot on target before Old Dominion even has a chance to figure out where or what they are doing. This is a landslide victory for BPC. Should we expect any less going for number 7? That would certainly put them in heaven territory.
And being able to continue to run up the score is something that is nice for the morale, just kind of showing that you're here and this is not going to be kind of a back and forth affair. It's really their series to lose, as really every touch is going their way. They're beating out these defenders just by an inch, it seems like, but confidence from which they rise into the air makes Broughton Park such a terrifying team to deal with, so I don't really blame the side of OW for kind of chilling in the midfield and trying to just police what they can.
That might be Old Dominion's first shot on target, perhaps. And again, right down the other side, their transitional play is venomous, Taco. And Old Dominion just don't have the pace to be able to deal with it. Now, whether they need to move to a bit more of a structured rotational system, I'm not one to say. I think that'll probably leave them a little more open than they would like, but fair play to Broughton Parker. Their one big enemy today, aside from their opposition, of course, is complacency. And I'm not seeing any of that even at 6-0 up.
That's why I like teams that kind of come out and just play efficiently. Yeah, you can go for some flashy flip resets and try to get up these setups, but they're going for demos. They're going for all these next plays and chilling types of approaches into the backfield, because sometimes it will freeze up the defender and allow you to do something like this.
Guess who? It's Milk again. But even then, you've got that play across the bow from Manny. He understands that it's a 1v1, so how can he help his team? Well, he sees that there's an opportunity to make the jump, to make the block, to use a little bit of boost, or whatever boost they got in the attack, I don't know. And because they're actually running across, it allows Milk to get that free shot over the top of both him and the defender. The defender can't run into him because the defender's not going to reach the ball in the first place. They'd be practically banking on a snooker shot into the ball itself to make any form of save. It's just so intelligent, so smart, and they're grasping at chances now, Old Dominion. I don't blame them. This one was written in the first minute.
And at the end of the day, this is also what a lot of game ones tend to be against the top seed, is you're wondering, all right, what makes them so good? Let's come out and kind of test the waters, but you stepped right into a boiling pot of water because you're going to get burned. Antics continuing to style in as another goal goes through.
Absolutely scalding performance. It's the finesse and the prowess in the air from all three of these players. It's one thing to have a star, to have that individual with a bit of X factor, a bit of je ne sais quoi, but Broughton Parker, they've got spades of talent in each and every one of these individuals. It's so scary to think that you don't know what you're going to be encountering, Taco, once you're in that defensive phase. A 1v1 play or a genuinely beautiful synergist team play. Speaking of, Old Dominion don't go home with nothing, a consolation prize.
It's good to be able to maintain that. It's hard to kind of see through the smoke and the fire and the flames and looking for your teammates when Broughton Parker's kind of been all over them, both on offense, defense, and the midfield, everything in between. They're able to get that one pass. And granted, yes, it's not going to do much for this game. We are into the final seconds as game number one is going to wrap up. But at least Old Dominion know that it is possible to get those chances. You just got to make sure you take them every single time they do pop up.
Okay, Broughton Parker 8-1. That was difficult to see if you are an Old Dominion fan. Good news, you did score the last goal of the game. Bad news, you only had 3 shots on target in comparison to the 17 put on from Brute and Parker. When you put down 17 shots, you're at the very least expecting 4, 5, maybe 6. I would say that 8 is certainly an overestimation. I think that that's actually a great credit to them that they were able to just, you know, push up and really impose their presence on Old Dominion as a defense. Old Dominion, again, I respect the tenacity. At least they got a goal on the board, but it is slim pickings to find other positives. Not for the one to trying, though.
I mean, they seem to be completely into it, Old Dominion. In fact, in the in-game chat, they just said, in all caps, we scored a goal, and then one typed, eagle emoji times 98. So they're hyped. They're as hyped as they can be that they finally got on the board. So it's nice to see that the mental is still kind of locked in, that they're able to really talk through everything and be fine with everything with the situation. Because they know coming into this, it was always going to be an uphill battle, maybe just a vertical, straight-up wall to be able to climb.
Yeah, no wonder they keep on picking up the odd game win here and there. If they're just having a good time, I mean, isn't that what Rocket League is really supposed to be about? Hopping online, having fun with your friends, and maybe a little bit of improvement along the way. Brute and Parker continue to say, but we also like winning so early on. It's tragic for Old Dominion.
The nice thing is, I mean, you can have at least a perspective of saying, hey, I'm just out here to have fun. But Brute Parker's like, well, you know how I have fun? By winning series and continuing to rise up the table. So there's two different approaches to this relic.
Well, let's see whether we're going to be getting into a cricket scoreline or I guess a basketball scoreline for you all over there. I'm trying to translate my analogies and whatnot into the good old US of A. But I tell you what, it's a brilliant day for Brute and Parker. Again, on the attack, we can see that wide shot so good at demonstrating how Old Dominion, I wouldn't call it a panic because we know that they're vibing, but again, they're struggling with the overload that Brute and Parker are putting onto them. And the best thing about it, Taco, is that they're overloading at the right time. It means that the counter-attacking options for Old Dominion really limited. Oh, whoa! Oh, what a find, what a pick, what an angle.
Sometimes you're saying, I'm going to lob one across the middle. What's the worst that can happen? Well, Manny is exactly the worst case scenario because he's able to steal that one and throw it right back down into your net. Brute and Parker, as we said earlier, not taking anything for granted. Yes, they are playing at the opposite ends of the table, but these players are still trying to play for that top 4, trying to get into those playoff brackets a little bit later on. There's even a LAN potentially coming up in May that they have an eligibility for if they do well enough. And I mean, this just shows you want to make sure your record is as good as possible. But it doesn't mean you can just throw something willy-nilly. That dunk nearly fine in pay dirt.
If they had no luck, or if they had no good luck, or no bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all. There was a saying in there. I completely butchered it. That wasn't a butchered opportunity. That was a really lovely 50 win. And again, it's so unfortunate that they go right down the other side, Brute and Parker, and the first opportunity they have once they go down the other side of the pitch, they find that lift via Manny, absolutely popping off with the popcorn as well. Love the show. And it is now 3-0. Old Dominion, my heart goes out to you.
Honestly, this is incredible just to be able to see that Brute and Parker really has been, I almost said, just completely infallible in this series, but eventually they will give up something, going for the power clear, and sometimes just too far away.
I tell you what, every time I see incredible clearances from any corner on a pitch, I'm mind blown, given I haven't played Rocket League in a little while, but my one continuous issue was that corner, trying to get the lift, trying to get the jump. Great punishment from Flip Out straight off the kickoff as well. That's got to give them some hope as it's a 2-goal game all of a sudden. But they've really got to shore up the defense now as well, Taco. Frustrate the opponents, force them into the overcommitments at poor times. And then if you can seek out that escape corridor, go with it with all of your might.
And being able to keep the game close is obviously the improvements. I think Rocket League is a game where you don't really have a lot of time in a literal sense within just the game-by-game situation, but also in between. You only have that 1 minute, no timeouts in this format, so you're really just getting right back into it. You have about 6 seconds to talk through, and honestly, what Old Dominion have been doing, I like their structure a lot better. Brute Parker is not changing the game plan, and yet they have to kind of work a bit harder. The challenges are better, and they're structured a bit better as well on the backboard, which is resulting in some more clears and potentially another counter, maybe a double tap at that ace. Conjure can't get above it, just barely gonna rattle off the bar.
Comms noticeably better, absolutely agree. And actually, Comms noticeably worse for Brute and Parker. Perhaps a little bit of ego on show here as 2 go for the goal. ultimately it's Manny that picks up the credit. Doesn't really matter. Maybe that in of itself was what bamboozled the Old Dominion defense. But yeah, it's about those small incremental improvements. Even if Old Dominion go into this, they think, we're probably not going to win this series, are we? At the very least, they know that they're going up against top opposition, and that experience could be crucial as they look to finish off their season. Maybe second on the way, sunk, still a game on our hands, folks.
That's a mechanical setup right there. You'd be able to get the first flick, then jump up, and then dime a pass. You cannot ask for a better setup for Bruton Parker. They tried to improv. They did their very best. A bumper on the ball, but not actually out from the goal line. So a 2-goal game yet again, and with 2 minutes. Not necessarily saying that they're turning the tides, but Bruton Parker got to be wondering, where was this team last game? They're really starting to put up quite the fight if they're not careful.
In order to build a boat, you've got to find the materials first, and I'm seeing some good resource gathering here from Old Dominion. Bit by bit, we're starting to see a stronger and stronger side, and a bit of a misplay here. Milk forced into the retreat. Following this, it's flip out up the side, heading inwards. There's not really anybody that they can feed this to, or maybe it's going to be set up finally. No Ace Conjuring a little bit too far upfield after taking far too long to find boost themselves. No second touch there, crucial. Ace Conjurer allowed to bring it out to the midfield line now. There's Milk to meet it, follow up, shot, but snuffed.
Really nice follow through as well. That was going towards the top shelf if it was not guarded, but it will be able to continue the attack as ricocheted around. Bruton Park was not ready for that aerial. Now off the backboard, Manny trying to get back to it. A lighter touch and does not get the rebound. Luckily, just kind of collides into his car. A lot of fortune going the way of Bruton Parker. Now it's about the execution. Otherwise, 2 players up yet again. They're not going to find a similar result as last time.
Fortune favors the ball though, and case in point, Milk 1v2, don't matter a jot. Number 5 on the board, easy as that.
It's a tough 50 as well. I think they're trying to go for a little bit of an awkward challenge there from Milk, is just trying to get in the way, but ultimately it's going to be the lack of a pinch clear for what it looked like Old Dominion's efforts were leading to. So now it's back to that 3-goal game, and I gotta say, at the end of the day, I think you have to view these series as silver linings. You just prove step by step, and nothing better than scoring triple the goals that we were able to conjure up game 1.
Just like my anxiety, they're like the shadow that never goes away, Old Dominion in this one. Again, back to a 2-goal game. With 1:06 left on the clock, we have seen far crazy things happen in esport. This esport, let me tell you. However, to close it to a 1-goal game seems to be a very different matter. Bruton Parker, these are limited opportunities. I've been impressed with the clinicalness, actually, of Old Dominion. I don't think their shot count is particularly high, but we've got to pop up here. Look at that antics. He's managed to put up enough of a challenge. That's it in front of net! Hold the phone! Ace Conjurer has made this real interesting.
I love this from Keo. So many players will just try to air dribble and take it straight to goal. But no, your job is to beat out the defender, and you can't really put it any better than right at that top lip. It's going to waterfall straight down the goal line. The hardest save in the game, in my opinion, when your defender's looking straight down, landing on your forehead. And they're going to get crashed upon. 1-goal game with under a minute, and the last chance for Bruton Parker's not going in. This one, over-reliable Milk to put it home.
No, that was a panic moment. Ace Conjurer simply has to get a piece of it. Again, if I'm being very critical, Manny should be getting that. But again, Manny's also expecting that initial throwaway back into the midfield to be successful. Once again, the follow-up plans, the backup plans from Bruton Parker come out on top, makes it 6-4, makes it a lot more difficult for Old Dominion. But let's count them, Danger Taco. That's 4 goals. That's an increase from the 1 that we saw in game number 1. I think with this sort of, gameplay, with this sort of, resilience that we've seen, far better than game number 1 as well. I think they got a real shot to continue their form and pick up that solitary game win.
I think the biggest issue that we're seeing is the pace of play and confidence that Bruton Parker plays in. Clearly playing against 3 SSLs, that's going to happen when you are a team that's trying to play up in rank. But the main issue is that you can contest with them. You can play in these lobbies, as many a ranked warrior will tell you. But the moment you have any sign of weakness or a mistake, it is going right in the back of your net. And I feel like that was the story in game 1, and even now in game 2, even with 4 to the good for Old Dominion.
50% conversion rate, by the way, very impressive from Old Dominion. I also love the trend that we're seeing as well from a 9-goal, well, it's a 9-goal thriller. I mean, it was a bit of a 9-goal bashing into the curb, unfortunately. But from 9 goals to 10 goals is 11. The next one that we're about to see, well, I doubt it very much, actually, because I think Bruton Parker, if I'm the coach in that particular call, I'm saying, yo, we conceded 4 against bottom of the league. Now, that might sound disrespectful, but also these coaches, they strive for greatness. And so the fact that you have conceded 4 in the first place, you are continually putting yourself at risk. There was never a moment where Old Dominion really just seemed so far out of sight because of that stark improvement between the 2 games. If we see that same level of improvement going into game number 3, we should be expecting something far closer with far lower scoring. Bruton Parker, for me, focus on that defense first and foremost. Don't ego it. Don't get complacent, because this series is yours to lose.
Yeah, I think there's many different, you can say cliches colliding, where you say if it's not broke, don't fix it. At the end of the day, I think Bruton Parker is playing well, but it is something they have to be aware of. If you win a game, it doesn't mean you don't have to still adapt to your opponents. I think ODU very well to make sure they weren't diving in on absolutely everything, but taking their chances, being a bit more courageous, diving into the midfield, kind of like that one from Flip Out, getting 2 straight dunks to be able to ricochet that one back across. And therefore, I think if they keep this up, Old Dominion are looking a lot more confident, whether they're having fun or not. They're definitely giving it their best effort. You can see why they're definitely a tough team to be able to truly pin down.
Change of hitbox, interestingly, from Manny, moving from the Fennec into the Dominus as well. Good demo on the backboard. It's Milk. Oh my goodness. He knew he had time, and boy did he utilize it, Taco. Styling.
And tried to get the musty, but at the end of the day, you can't reach all the way back. So he'll get a little rear touch to be able to just hip check that one into the net. I mean, they all count the same at the end of the day. Not going to make the montage to get put on the college's Twitter, but maybe next time.
Good use of the caboose, you could say. And again, an early lead for Bruton Parker. 1-0 up within the first 30 seconds or so. But I did actually see better signs from Old Dominion JV as well in those opening seconds. They actually were moving upfield with a lot more confidence, looking for those passing plays, progressive rather than reactive. And Ace Condra is back to throw this one off to the side. We head on to Keo, but there's no one ready to receive in the midfield, although a double commit as well. I think that communication is getting a little bit rusty on the BPC side.
And it can be a little tough, though, because even if it is rusty, they are cutting in and getting those dangerous flicks. ODU deals well with it. In fact, that's a pretty good aerial, and not for the fake. That probably would have made some solid contact, and they can try to build from it because everyone on BPC backed up. Antics not catching that ball, still ricocheting around. Maybe an open shot for Ace Conjure, but the team cut across means that shot will go out the window, and then a next one comes up on the back post, denied just barely.
It's that heart-stopping moment where you can see the goal at your beck and call, maybe another opportunity. That's a lovely save away, actually, from Antics. And here we've got another reloaded opportunity, but again, there's someone in the way. Keo now looking for the slice, the fake, actually. Oh, my word. Whoa, read it like a book. Antics, a good thing that he did. The pop-up now from Ace Conjurer. Again, looking way, way better. Backboard, but Keo unable to get the shot. It's Antics at it again.
This is the first time I've seen Bruton Parker actually on the back foot. That was about 30 seconds straight. It felt like of just sheer pressure from ODU. They're getting shots off. They're threatening double taps. They're really having to pre-jump Bruton Parker just to be able to keep these out, as well as getting pre-jumps into the backboard pinches. Now here's that patented BPC counter. Antics flip reset back post. It's beautiful, but still off target.
It's only a 1-goal game as well, so any sort of equalizer will give all the confidence in the world to Old Dominion. Ace Conjurer makes it so.
Making a meal out of this one. Off the backboard, BPC trying to get the clear, gets absolutely nothing on it, but that doesn't mean it's not great positioning from ODU JV. They're sitting there waiting for that putback, and apparently they were the only one. Everyone on BPC cheating up. That means the goal is wide open. It could be wide open immediately off the kickoff, but not for a crazy effort on defense. There needs to be a second, and there is none found.
Gotta love the goal steal. I mean, goal secure there from Milk. I think that was absolutely going in irrespective, but you know, just to make sure. And I do actually quite like that. We can meme, we can joke about it, but at the end of the day, these are the sorts of goals that could make the difference, especially with Old Dominion's best performance so far.
Goals like that being able to go on through. I mean, they all count the same. They all go towards the team's total, which is obviously the goal here. But I think it also just shows that you really do need to make sure they're all in and make sure you're not making mistakes. We talked about this. Old Dominion, a little bit of a double commit on the makeup. Milk taking it slow. Still will get it past the first one, but good staggered defense means we will inevitably see a clear entering the final 2 minutes of Game 3. Another pop from Antics, saved to the side.
I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from Broughton Parker. It was a very difficult, like you said, 30-second period, but they have ground their way back into this game. And once again, they're demonstrating their mechanical ability. It really is a step above what Old Dominion can provide. Manny has been the spear point of so many attacks. He is here again. 2-goal deficit for Old Dominion to overcome.
And he actually being the fresh-faced addition into Broughton Parker from the previous semesters for this college. Kind of came in, not really known by too many players, but then the team making CRL, making deep runs into many a collegiate bracket, and kind of has put himself out there saying, hey, I'm not just a random replacement coming into kind of the middle of the table team. Like, we can contest with the very best of them, and honestly, the way they're playing, it's great. Granted, you would expect with their pedigree that this scoreline would be a bit more disparate. Maybe it could grow in time, but at least on that latticed attack, it won't. Now here's the counter. Everyone bit. There's nobody home. And yet it's still off the bar. Not like this.
It's going to get even worse, Taco. Watch this follow-up. Oh, they're actually... Fair play to Broughton Parker. They actually decided not to follow up, and then Manny had a free shot anyway. I legitimately hate it so much. I could see that shot ricocheting off the crossbar. It felt like a moment that was too good to be true, and now that good moment has turned into an absolute disaster class nightmare. What a shame.
That was 20 seconds of just distilled catastrophe. I don't know how else to define that one. Nothing worse in the feeling is when you're on a counter, and I've been there exactly, when there's a play to be made, but it's slightly too far away from you. You're like, what's the worst that can happen if I go for this redirect? And unfortunately, they found out immediately on the counter as well, as the final seconds starting to tick on in the final minute of game number 3. That would mean a reverse sweep in a best of 7 is going to be required from ODU if they drop this game. And the way it's looking, Broughton Parker, it was looking a little shaky at the wheel, but they have white-knuckled it. They have gripped on to that steering wheel, and it seems like they have somewhat regained control.
Another rapid transition play. Ultimately comes to nothing, but doing what they need to do at this point, which is burn time off the clock. And I'm loving that if they don't see a passing opportunity on, they throw it into no man's land and look to win the race thereafter. Another pop-up, another moment where ODU are forced into that boost usage, and they're already lacking it with BPC controlling a lot of the hundreds. Infield ricochets away, back up, it's Antics. Good interception from Flip Out. Keo's there, flips it on, but not on target, and Flip Out with another panic moment. Sadly, 4-1, that was the series scoreline that I was predicting in spite of the golfing class on the table, Taco. But unfortunately, as each game goes by, the sweep looks the more likely result.
And at the end of the day, these games are entertaining because it is a bit more back and forth. It's actually genuine contests from Old Dominion on defense. They're getting these clears. They nearly had a breakaway to be able to bring this one a bit closer. And yes, it doesn't go in. Yes, we can laugh about it. But ultimately, this is a team that came into this based on how they're chatting in the quick chats within the game with each other. They know that, yes, they were the underdogs, but in a way that kind of gives you a relaxation to a certain extent, saying, hey, the expectations on us are not that high, so we can just come in, try our very best. And honestly, I'm really impressed by how they're playing. For a JV squad going up against a team that you could argue is probably one of the top 30 teams in the nation for Collegiate Rocket League, they're holding their own, even despite what the series scoreline might be telling you.
Sure, I mean, the proverbial monkey never even got on the back in this case. They didn't have to take it off because... especially when you've already lost so many series, again, not in a close fashion, at least on the series scoreline side, you're already thinking, okay, go next for next semester even. So this is all a learning experience. This is all a way for each of these players to improve individually. They're not going to improve if they give it away cheaply like that, but we have seen glimpses here and there of something I feel that can certainly look to tackle mid-table next time around.
And being able to get into these leagues for improvement. I think there's multiple sides of it. I think when you are a team of Broughton Parker, your expectation is to ace your way through the round robin, to be able to get into those playoffs, go as far as possible, get into LAN finals, etc. And when it comes to ODU JV, it really does come down to the aspect of, yeah, obviously we try to win, but these are also works in progress. These can be freshmen, these are sophomores that are just trying to play their way through college, trying to make sure they kind of get some work with each other, build chemistry, and honestly, based on these passes that we've seen, the coordination, they're not doing too bad. It's really just making sure they up the speed, which it seems like they're doing at least within this series so far. That's a nice clear and even potentially a counterattack, if not for Mill cutting that one out.
Couldn't have put it much better myself. Not just upping the speed, but also, looking for those clear-cut moments of quality and taking the quality moments when they arrive. Manny has been my MVP by a country mile. What a difficult shot to rotate your car around and generate power to outpace Flip Out, who's still on the way back. Gets a piece of the ball, by the way, any earlier, and that might go off the bar and out. Unfortunate again, BPC ahead again.
Well, showing that clinical finishing is so important at the top level. You're not going to get a lot of chances, so when they do come up, it's normally right in the back of the net, but at the end of the day, I will say BPC is looking especially pristine on the mechanics. It really looks like they just got out of a 4-hour kind of group collective custom training workshop because they're really hitting everything. The amount of flip resets have gone, and their conversion rate on pretty much every one of their like pre-jumps or have these passing plays is like almost eclipsing 70%. It seems like they really just do not miss on any of the mechanics, which makes them even more irritating to deal with, I am sure, from a defensive standpoint.
Oh, that was a solo standard special and a half, wasn't it? 3 players all in the same place. This is the administrative game for BPC. You've still got to do your business, lads, and that they have. Correct answer on the exam paper, 2-0.
Look, being able to cause a bit of commotion right there, but the problem is a lot of no man's land rotation. It's one of the most difficult things in high level 3s. You're rotating up, you want to pressure the play, it ricochets down, and it's just far enough away that you can't challenge it, but you're also too far away from the goal to truly play defense. BPC takes advantage of it, and now this 1-goal game becomes a 2, maybe even a 3. Milk has their way of setting up yet another mechanical play. They're going to hand it off, and not to their benefit. It will be saved inside. A pinch not doing much better.
Old Dominion are very quickly learning the lyrics to this particular number. 2-0 down yet again. Any sort of hope, they've got to generate a goal from somewhere, but time again running out. 2 minutes already elapsed, and on the hunt yet again, Broughton Parker. Shot from downtown, good save, interception play, and another big block. And again, they try and find a way into the midfield, but it's so difficult when there's little boost and little power generated off the sidewall. No infield pass available. There was a rotation out. Demo on the way out, however, and it's back into blue hands.
Manny looking for a bit of a musty on the style, not necessarily substance, because it's not going that far. Fine, because he'll just pick up his own pass at the end. A demo to lead the way. It's off the post.
Oh!
It's still somehow saved. Milk getting it done both sides of the field.
Shenanigans. I'm just calling it now, pure shenanigans. They are cashing in all of their lucky stars, BPC. Still, it remains 2-0. Old Dominion not going down without a fight. And once again, they're on the hunt. As a pack, they're led by Keo. Backboard. Oh, that's not a fortuitous touch, but it's well handled by his 2 teammates. Looking at the transition. Milk backboard. Antics up. Bit too complicated a play. Still lurking in the D, but thrown away.
That was actually incredible. If you had noticed kind of the step-by-step on that, the amount of coordination went for the turtle flick up in the air, then a pre-jump off the double tap into the middle for Antics to pre-jump and get the next redirect. Broughton Parker, even when it seems like they're goofing around, it's still organized, and it almost still went in. It's just kind of a warning sign just to all the teams that they're going to be playing within this round robin in the future as we enter the final 90 seconds that this team might be messing around, yet they're still going to be lethal.
Another backboard hit, but there's no one to pressure. Manny up. And you can definitely tell that they're just vibing right now. I don't even want to count the amount of double commits which I've seen in the last 2 minutes, because otherwise I'm going to get a little stressed myself. Near post, a little too late to the scene. Shot on target, goes near. I've got opposed to that very bottom pocket. Great sense of accuracy, great sense of where that defense is going from Flip Out. You've got also that wonderful strafing run from Keo to look for those bumps. 1-goal game, 66 seconds left. Can we see that 1-game win at last?
Really do like that from ODU, and as you mentioned, yes, they have been able to bring at least 1 game back. It might be tough askins here, but it's still all within their grasp. Potentially, is it within their reach? They need to make sure they don't foible on defense. It's another 50 right in front of the goal line. Nice save up and over, and the clear back to midfield, but what else? You need possession. You can't just get clears.
It's clutch. But is it going to lead to something? Right down the other side of the field. Big demo in the midfield from Manny. And Keo, a little frustrated bump, but still the ball moves forward to put away. No! Was that Antics who got the last touch on it? I call sabotage. Oh, it's an open net! No way!
How do they do it? They're the little university that could. Keo, brilliant fake as the defender was hoping for some kind of dunk, and the ice in the veins. Got to turn on the heat in that facility lest they freeze over, but they will get an equalizer. Final 30 seconds. You got one more in you.
I can hear the summer months coming, but before it's time for some spring cleaning, methinks. not exactly the reverse sweep broom that I'm hearing coming out the closet, but perhaps we can find a game for this plucky little team, or maybe not, because it really does feel like there's been a bit of memeing here from Broughton Parker. They've just been enjoying themselves. They've not been playing to 100%, but they're going to have to do it in overtime unless this ball ends up in one of the back of the nets. Nobody looking to let it drop, actually. Finally it does. It's ODU who forces it. OT, game win on the line.
Not familiar territory as well, and it might just be ending as soon as it has begun because the opening flick, who else series MVP by your recommendation, Relic? It's Manny top shelf in this.
You can almost hear the balloon deflating. So hyped, so exciting. And then Broughton Parker just turned up again. So sad. A bit of a damp squib there in the end, but I gotta say, I really enjoyed watching Old Dominion, actually. Game 1, not so much. Felt a little bit rickety, felt a little bit like a shoestring budget defense, but their level of improvement was outstanding from game 1 to game number 4. We saw them take their opportunities. We saw them become a lot more progressive, a lot more confident in themselves. Maybe not scaring Broughton Parker. I definitely think they were playing within themselves in that last encounter, but I really enjoy what I saw from Old Dominion, and fingers crossed they will find a series win before the season is out.
And at times you can tell that Broughton Parker, I mean, they're kind of playing around it a little bit, but there was a lot of times where they're genuinely trying to challenge. They're genuinely trying to play at this, and ODU was getting the goal. So even though they're joking around saying, hey, we got a goal, yeah, we're having fun, they genuinely does look good. So this is a team that you take on as kind of a project, see how they develop. And yes, they are at the bottom of the table. Unfortunately, that's another loss in, but I think the objective for them is really just to go out, kind of have hang out with your friends, build that chemistry, and then as the skill gains throughout the semesters, you can be a bit more competitive in the series score. But in full agreement with you, Relic. It is a wonderful thing for them. Congrats again to Broughton Parker. They're going to move on to 4-0, still undefeated in their division, and they will also be doing it here for us on ECAC Rocket League. Relic, wonderful to step into the booth with you yet again, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be with you as well. And we certainly hope that all of you enjoyed as well. A big shout out to Coltoon on the back end, making sure that you see all the pretty pictures. Of course, there's plenty more action here on Esports U across multiple different esports, and indeed more ECAC action on the way in due time. But that's it from both of us, from Taco, from myself, Relic. It's a very warm goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Hello everyone and welcome to week 4 of ECAC Overwatch 2. My name is Sam Tongs, joining me none other than the ever spectacular Zephyr. And Zephyr, what an evening we have ahead of us, because we have Marist College going up against Carroll University, both teams, 1-1, right? So one win, one loss. And there's actually kind of a lot riding on this line, because if we look at the whole picture of everything that's going on, the top 4 teams from each of these elite groups are going to be moving on into the playoffs.
Right.
Well, guess what? Yeah.
Oh, I was about to say, things are starting to shore up here as we kind of make our way towards the endings of the semester. We're not quite there just yet, but as things start to tick forward, you don't have the chance to make those mistakes. So while 1-1 is a decent start as it currently stands, this could be that tiebreaker that allows one of these teams to see themselves more confidently fit as we break into the later halves.
Absolutely. Every single opportunity that you can give yourself, you need to be able to take that. And even though it's not the end of the world, right? If you don't take a win here this week, it's going to be so much difficult when you look off into the future and when you're trying to claw back something from yourself as the weeks and weeks go on. So, yeah, obviously, you want to try and set yourself up in a good place.
I'll tell you what, we are going to jump in, though, right off of the bat. For those who are friends, we'll be on control, I believe, to start things off.
And none other than the snowy peaks of Nepal. Zephyr, can't help but love it. Can't help but get ready to see how these teams have also been shaping themselves up in the face of Season 9 that just recently came out not a couple of weeks ago. And even though we've been seeing some meta compositions coming out of the different regions, especially with OWCS, kind of getting back into the flow of things, it's still kind of in flux and it's still kind of all up in the air.
Yeah, I was about to say, still settling on the strengths that currently exist here leaves a lot of space, especially, I would say, between DPS support as a whole, for at least those picks to be a bit more flexible, but at least right now, point to unlock soon here. But with that being said, relative mirror matchups, especially with supports, and notably, of course, tank for tank, Junker Queen on the field.
It's interesting to see the dual Junker Queen coming out. The way that they are, be seeing them as much as we have been. We're getting full action. Marist already on top of the point. Going to be pushed off by Carroll. That Reaper of Bone is going to make things so difficult here. And Amatabas is going to take out Saucy in that first blood. It's going to give Marist a massive advantage over Carroll. In fact, good enough to be able to take the first capture at this point.
Oh, Ambatis has got to be real careful, though. Looking for some of those plank pickups to separate the back end and at least find the result on Adamant here initially with that full reset and the slow healing, though. We'll finally go for that full flank of Bone, though, on the opposite end, keeping things paced up just as well. And a single Tracer trying to find successful flanks.
Tried to go into the corner, but instead stuck against a Bone. A Reaper is always deadly no matter the odds, and Amatabas is continuing to push forward. The momentum here for Marist. A Bone may be gone, and it's looking a little dicey there, but Nano me please. Well, they're definitely going to need a Nano after this with how much damage they're taking. Moo is gone. Marist is just continuing to take up the percentage points.
Well, Bear may be able to escape there. With Moo down, it'll be for full reset as we break the halfway off of our first point here on Nepal. And I love this from Ambatis, taking this extra forward position. This choke in particular, reaching past it, will force them, notably, to this height, but ultimately delay them that extra 10-15%.
Saucy has a pulse bomb. Moo with the sound barrier. It's going to be a very vital ultimate coming online that needs to be used appropriately. What a stick from the high ground. It's not going to be good enough. There it is. Coalescence, the rampage, everything in between. And Mary still gets to go into the next fight using Dragon Blade, using Death Blossom, and a sound barrier of their own.
Real nice here. A Bone to Batis ult's ready, and the Soundwave, like you said, still available. Gonna finally come out here from Carroll last minutes before Nano sends it straight to the void here off of reset. No point captured, none taken in response. 88 on 90 with full resets for Nano. Mana, it's very unlikely. They'll have to be quick. You'll see Adamant make that switch to Cassidy last second here to potentially close that distance.
Saucy has to be the hero. to bring them into overtime, but heroic sacrifices move the Death Blossom right in front of them, booms it away, but it's still a massive amount of damage, especially when Abatabas has this Dragon Blade ready to cut everyone down in front of them. Marist, a perfect first sub map.
Absolutely great there. Nano makes the attempt too, especially coming in off Junker Queen, getting the full health debuff. At the end of the day, though, it was just far too late, especially with the figures like Saucy going down early before they could really export on some of that damage.
Marist is so methodical in how they were taking these sites as well, and also taking these fight engagements. It looked like Carol at one point may have had an advantage, an upper hand. There's also a lot of moments where they splintered off from each other, and Marist, when they figure that out, so quick to isolate. And then we're also seeing the power of that Junker Queen, being able to shout, get in there quick, and then Lucio to get you out just as fast.
Now, notably, the big pickups that we do see shifting here is Adamant already on the Mei, looking for a bit more control. Saucy now opting to play through the Reaper as well, so continuing to heighten our mirror matchup.
Both teams meeting in the center. Enemy, please, is just under an immense amount of damage, but it looks like Saucy switching over to the Reaper is going to be a massive boon for Carol. Getting rid of Rom King. The more you're out of here, now the tank to follow. May have gotten a little too lost in the Saucy, but you've already done your damage, and Marist needs to get out of there. Bring around the Rosie on this pillar, but it looks like Bone's going to get out of jail free card. Carol's going to get the first capture.
Nobody trying to contest that just a bit with the Mattis. Got to pull back here before the heal. The Moira on the back end. Like this from a Bone, though, continually looking for those side flanks. Just barely breaks out, but the combo from Bass on the other end allows them to take healer for healer here. With that choke underway, Mei with one wall will find themselves back, but this should be the resulting push they need.
Absolutely, and a Bone is continuing just massacring their one target. Get rid of Nanomi, please. While Abatabas is having the time of their life to make that 3. Marist, a little rocky to get onto the side, but eventually they get it.
Yeah, a lot of credit early there to Saucy in the back half. Nano with the steady hold, and that's going to be a lot of extra charge in the damage that should allow them to have full reset, but Marist, just outside of Junker Queen, is able to at least support for a full response. Might wait out the extra 10 here between Saucy and Adamant to give them the full force.
All right, we're getting all of the ultimates. Marist not caring what happens here whatsoever. Abatabas on the high ground, getting rid of expensive. Adamant caught inside of a Death Blossom. Marist decided, all right, team, here's the plan. Press Q.
But this is kind of worrisome. It never really, outside of Moo, who kind of drops that early Soundwave barrier, everyone else holds on to everything they got, from the barrier in between to the full rush from Junker in a second here. I'm most worried, especially about things like that Death Blossom. There's not a lot of defensive holds here for this next push.
Oh, the Rampage is going to send them right in, but Enemy Please counters it with one of their own. Saucy seeing an opportunity to use their own ultimate, but no one is going to fall from it, and instead they go too far into the pack line, and that, once again, this DPS duo is just on a whole nother levels effort.
Ultimately, it was a great setup, but a little bit disjointed there, especially with the far push forward from Nano, and the back end rush from Mbatabas and Abone causes them to be separated initially in this choke. So all 3 major expenditures, all utility utilized here. Abone's going to continue to look for some more, and we'll be able to heal back. They're going to opt to play this one out from the height, see if they can choke through in the other end.
Oh my goodness, it was a difference of 10 HP, and I think that's the difference is Marist as well. They're so good at executing. With your tank out of here, things are looking dire for Carol. They need to try and equalize things back out, but it's just not going to be. And Abatabas has the Dragon Blade. Abone has the Death Blossom. There is nothing left in the tank for Carol. Marist, a convincing map number 1. Nanomi, please. It's just a last-ditch effort. All they could do. Map number 1 to Marist.
Wow. Just absolutely strong is the word that I would use there in both representations. And while, yes, in the second pickup for control, Carroll does start things out. Once their hands were fully locked in stone and key, Maris delivered. And of course, Mbatabus, an absolutely absurd presence here on the Genji, especially in this last game.
And Batibus is... I am in shock and awe. You can see how hard and difficult the words are to get out of my mouth just based off of their own performance. This is a team here, Zephyr, that is so in touch with each other, right? You see the damage that's being done by a bone, then Mbatabus comes in and cleans the rest of this team up. And there was a point too where they lost their tank early on into the team fight. But we're still somehow able to turn things back around in the face of all of these ultimates. An unreal show of force, honestly.
I mean, ultimately, it comes down to the separation more than anything. Notice the double flanker pickup from both DPS roles is causing that to happen here on both of these maps, and we saw it in the first iteration as well here. So even without tank potential, without even the full roster, just the two of them alone, their DPS, if we ever had the statistics to see it, are probably enough of a pressure in that lonesome to do its work. And while, yes, they're supported and sustained across the board there, that enough, especially in comparison to what we're seeing from Carroll, is what does them in, at least for map 1.
I couldn't agree more. Carroll, you saw they had the right pieces, ready to form the puzzle, ready to get in really there. Good. They held on to their ultimates when they were getting smacked down. Really, the only thing expended was that sound barrier. And so, all theoretical worlds, they should have won it. But unfortunately for them, it all just petered out towards the end. And especially in that first map, they were trying to get their groove. They're trying to get into the flow state against Marist College. But I mean, a dominant first map performance, bump in the road for the second, and then just 0 to 100, basically, is what this team feels like they're showing up for. And a reminder of kind of what's at stake, Zephyr, right? They are so determined to be able to take down Carroll and make sure to solidify their 4th place position.
And also on top of that, when we talk about what we saw from that game outside of Carroll to try to mediate and play around these things, the switch-ups never quite came through in a way that mattered. Obviously, the May pickup for Adamant there at the end, as good as that can be at locking down some of those single target pickups, especially with the double flank potential, doesn't really get the chance to shine. And then, of course, with the Reaper mirror matchup, at that point, then we got to see what that damage looks like when you turn the other cheek there. So ultimately, I don't know if I'd like to see that kind of play again. Something akin to what we saw of map 1 looked a little bit better, even if the percentages were saying otherwise.
Exactly. And you really do have to think about it. Mbatabus on that Genji, it felt like they were all over the map, Zephyr. I mean, I harp, and I'm talking a lot about this player, but their performance was just so admirable. I mean, I think we saw 4 Dragon Blades, 4 Genji ultimates in the span of this map. 2 sub-maps was all it took, and they were farming it so consistently, so quickly, and so decisively, and knowing when to use them. And even when they didn't get the kills, again, it all comes back to Marist's sort of link they have going on. When they need to be able to take down a player, they call it out. They say, this one's low. The rest of the team just flies on top of them.
I will say, when we talk about Mbatabus specifically in terms of setting up the success there for Marist, notice especially on that map 1, we talk about the initial choke outside of spawn side, solo holding it. Quite literally the only member of that roster laying down that pressure, and that's enough to send them into a choke on the other side where the rest of the team here from Marist is waiting. So, unable, bit of a slippery fish there for Mbatabus, but something that Carroll has to figure out here if they want to see themselves sustained going into this next match.
Ooh, and as a matter of fact here, Zephyr, we are indeed getting some substitutions from Carroll University. So this may be the retooling situation that you were talking about, some different ways to fight against Marist. So here's the entire rundown that we have going on. Harmony's coming in for expensive. Saucy's moving to tank. Klein Saucer in for Nano Me, please. So a lot of shakeups going on here, Zephyr, especially when you look at the tank, the DPS, and actually it's just everything, tank, DPS, and support.
Yeah, notably, it will be that switch up with Saucy moving out of DPS to free up that role. So a lot of that lack of damage that we saw, at least in that initial control matchup, could potentially be now sustained here with that switch, and especially with Nano Me Please now taking a step back here after that substitute. Not that he wasn't in any presence, definitely kind of a wallop, especially on the Junker Queen, quite a time or two. But still, these are some of the changes that now might set them up.
Hopefully, and when you think about what happened again on Nepal, when you think about everything that this team had to go through, it really is, when you're playing these kind of compositions, especially with a Mei, it's all just about playing together as a team and just going on top of the supports as fast as you can. And Batibus is doing their own thing. They're trying to get into your backline. They're trying to disrupt your own supports. And so when you look at what they're doing, you kind of need to try and do the same thing, but all together. And that's really important, especially when you have these Junker Queen style compositions. You're getting in. You need to get rid of someone fast. Otherwise, those flankers are going to do their job. But now we step into map number 2, and it is Familiar Sights of Kings Row.
Ugh. Especially when it comes down to the setup for how these two teams like to play. Maybe this is something that might slow down the presence that we've gotten the opportunity to see out of Mars, at least for now. Kings Row is something that can kind of at least pace out a little bit harder due to the natural state of how, yes, on the initial control point, you have those chokes. And then on top of that, making for that final push for the reset in the mid and into the final can be quite a delay for either one of these rosters. So not as quite of the explosive force potentially outside of Maris that we might get to see.
I still do think we'll have some form of Junker Queen style composition. Yeah, there we go. Maris is going to have that explosive form once more. Only thing that I'm kind of curious about is going to be the Embadibus Mei. But then Carol's Zephyr, completely different story.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Orisa in control here to hopefully lay down the law when it comes to this first point. Notably, it'll be Mei upon Mei, those walls coming in particularly clutch for both of these rosters when it comes down to it. Something that I really like, though, is that support pickup. Between the speed of one and the invincibility of another, this should allow potential rushes. We'll see. Complete wrapping around here. That is incredible.
This is what I'm talking about, Zephyr. You go so fast, you overwhelm. They completely took over the high ground. Maris at Mach speeds all over them. GG Dex eating so good. 49% of their ultimate already.
To be honest, I am just kind of shocked that they let them go through that in what feels like just for free. As a result, this will be the full pickup of point here, at least for Maris to start things out. Even with the changes, now they are back down to escort alone here for the remnants of this match. And while, yes, we talk about some of these chokes, another push like that, especially one that's supported by ultimates, can't let it happen.
There is a silver lining for Carol. They are still at the necessary choke points. But again, it's all about making sure that you're together as a unit, and Carol is forced to switch over to the Junker Queen themselves. But the biggest issue that they're going to have is they don't have the speed boost or the maneuverability of the Lucio. So we're going to see them kind of languishing here. Adamant was so bloodthirsty, only red in their eyes. And now the rest of Carol is going to be joining them in the spawn room. Maris is speed running Kings Row.
That's an understatement to be said in the least. I don't know if there's a tier above speedrunning, but they don't even bother with the setup for the payload here. A bone waiting in the back wings, ultimate on the ready here. This is about to be potentially a problem. One full push forward here, a take of recontrol, and you'll see that death blossom in your backline before you can even think.
The good news is here, Zephyr, is I don't think very much.
Hey,
there we go. This is something for Carol to be able to use. All right, a Blizzard going to frees them
Really
forward,
good.
actually, to try and get out of there. And the remnants of Maris looking for an escape opportunity on the high ground. And it is the Lucio. It is a Junker Queen. I can't believe this. What are they doing? They want to fight this? Are you kidding me?
GD Dax laying down the law. The last one left staying ahead of that sends the axe into Klein Saucer. And with a bone on the ultimate, that's going to be enough to reset our escort.
Bear had no support at a certain point. Or GG Dax. Bear fell early. And what did GG Dax decide to do? 1v2 it. Why not? I can do it. I am shook it.
Well, it definitely spells a lot, especially about Junker Queen when it comes down to Season 9 here. Moira on the frizz there on the back to keep this one healthy as now we breach second half. Look above. Look at the control, especially with Adamant being pushed further and further back as they round this choke, especially with the heal on the ground.
Kitsune rush, pushing them forward. Carol is going to have the Foxes behind them. And now emboldened by all of this extra damage. Carol, for the first time since this map has started, Zephyr, gets a chance to breathe.
Love the reset there. Klein Saucer once again now in this first pickup on that casting. Finds the first major elimination on a bone there. Slight staggering on the reset. Doesn't account for the fact, though, that we're still 4 minutes up on the board with GD Dax, Bear, and Rom King already raring to go.
Moon needs to build up the sound barrier fast. It's going to be vital for their survivor if they want to look towards that. And now with the competing rampages, Adamant inside of their Wraith form sees this. It is their time, but instead is moving them back over. But a beautiful Wraith form away. Rom King lives through this. The Death Blossom instead wilts in front of their eyes. Carol gone. Maris, all of this space is theirs.
And the thing is, I really like that from Adamant there, but you can't delay in terms of the timing. Those perfect setups have to come immediately. As a result, they left GD Dax on that back line, and that was far too much for them to handle. Meanwhile, Ambatabus straight to the Dragon's Blade.
Here it is, unsheath the sword, but they're gone. They're out of here. Adamant now being hunted down by the Lucio. A beautiful, brilliant switch over to the Sojourn. Adamant living up to their name, not giving up this point without every single ounce of fight left in them. There's only so much that even they could do. Marist is going to take it all of the way with 2 minutes and 52 seconds on the clock.
Absolutely crazy. The pacing is absurd there from Maris. Just breaching this first point alone is going to be the true test for Carol coming right out of the gates here. And I don't know if they're going to get that high-flying, wide-sweeping rotate that we saw out of Maris coming out of this first take.
I don't either. And again, Marist, their only strategy, it feels like, Zephyr, obviously there's a lot more going on, but the dominant prevailing one was speed. Get there fast, get them to where they can't even think about what they're doing. And if they do that, Carol it was a complete and utter collapse of the team on the first point. I do like what we got out of them a couple of times, but again, it's so... It feels like some of these ultimates, when they do happen, are just all over the place. Adamant was on the Reaper, going for the Death Blossom into the backline. Maris knows this. Maris is ready for this, and that's why you see Bear throwing out the boop to push them away from the rest of the team when they were caught inside of a rampage. So Carol needs to have the same tightening and the same coordination that we're getting out of Maris.
We'll see how it starts here right off the bat. Widow in play from Adamant. See if they can go for a quick early pickup. I don't expect this one to stay for long. Something to note, though, is that a Bone and Klein Saucer stay on the Sojourn now after that last remnant of fighting here. Mercy from above, and they're going to attempt for the same rotation. Big difference this time around, you don't have both DPSs. Adamant is still back in spawn.
They were looking to try and make the same thing happen, and look at what Maris does in response. The entire team is grouped up together before trying to dip into the backline. A Bone seeing an opportunity to charge up the railgun shot. They need to go for the 1v1 and try to win out there. Hey, It's close. Very close. Not quite good
But
enough,
ultimately,
still, yeah.
they're completely separated. DPS support in the back line allowing for Moo and both Adamant to go down. They'll turn right round to the point. And while, yes, it's taken, they've got Miner's number advantage there. And that's going to push Carol away, even as good as that was.
Oh my goodness. And then by this point in time, a bone is already back. Carol rebuked once more, feeling like things are all over the place for this team. They're building up to some of these ultimates, and they do have the Kitsune Rush. But my goodness, Adamant barely has any health. Need to get healed back up to full. Here comes the Kiriko ultimate. Coalescence is going to go right down the lane where these Foxes are, and they are hunting down Saucy. Rom King, nah. Their time is now. It is over. A bone is eating good tonight.
Nearly the full roster. A team kill in the presence of a bone. He comes back from the dead. And I'll tell you what, he's got a bone to pick here.
I see what you did there, Zephyr. I like that one, buddy. Oh no. Mbonibus, what are you doing, buddy? What are you setting yourself up for here? He's chilling out. He's taking a nap. No one saw. Okay.
Oh, now. All right.
They go up to the high ground, and Bonibus has been found out. Not through any other means. It's just because they want to go up there to try and take a different avenue of attack. But Bonibus still has this Dragon Blade.
Not just that, I was about to say GG Dax laying down with the Tornado of Pain. Will find the full wipe on 4 here. Moo quickly picked up from a Batibus on this backline, and once again, it is a swift team kill with 1 minute now on the board. Thankfully for Carol, it's a full save. Saucy, Adamant, Klein Saucer, ultimates ready to go, but the blade, and more importantly, the sound wave has not been dropped.
Carol has nothing to stop this Dragon Blade unless Adamant, Saucy, or Klein can take them out quickly. Bear was so close at death's door. They need to go in. That is the opportunity that they found for the show. Barrier says GG Dax. And Mbonibus is ready to fire on all cylinders with that Dragon Blade, teleporting right behind them and uttering one word and one word alone. Sorry, kid. I can't believe that's 2 words, actually. A bone had the overclock again, by the way. And for Carol, disaster. That's a bone, please.
There's going to be one final rush. See if they can play off of the Torbjorn here as that final remnant. But once again, we move from one major supportive entity to the other. Rom King now with the Laser of Pain available. It's unlikely that they get this successful push, especially with this far of a step up. Might be a diva, but with a bone downing one, Rom King with the ult from above on another. Send the Lucio into the corner. It'll be a 2v5 in the end.
And the end is nearer than you might think. Saucy's gonna do whatever they can, but a Diva Mech is gonna get wrecked. There's no self-destruct. There is no chance here for anything with this kind of dominance from Marist University. Now, 2-0 with series point.
This is just a struggle there. And the crazy thing is, we get, once again, much of the same, at least, reasonings for why we see this success. I will, though, at least knock on wood here. A shout out to Carol, at least. They do set themselves up a lot better this time around in terms of playing off of subsistent or consistent ultimates, but it's not the timings that I continue to see as a problem here. I mean, a great example was in that first defense. You know it as well as I do, the Reaper play and the separation there.
Absolutely. Again, it all comes down to, and you see how they do it, right? They
Right.
isolate these targets, usually through the efforts of Bear. They throw them away with a boop, and then the rest of the team is like, all right, this is just easy pick'ems for us now. And then they're so quick, they're so fast, and it just overwhelms the senses of Carol. And I got to be honest, too, when we talk about their attack composition, the real crux of the issue that this team was running into, they were trying to do some of the similar strategies, but they don't have the Lucio. The Lucio is such a linchpin for a lot of these compositions, especially when you have Junker Queen. You need to have that extra speed. You cannot survive without it. And the throughput of damage that comes from this and the overwhelming nature of this composition needs that Lucio. Otherwise, you can't do what Marist does.
No, and on top of that, when we do kind of find ourselves resulting in what they actually pick up between things, especially like the Mercy going into a lot of this last push here, the single target oriented nature, especially one that is trying to accelerate your DPS on pickups, like, yes, the Sojourn, which we do get to see shine in many ways from what was some of Carol's successes in this last game. Things like the Torbjorn, I can't quite say the same.
And then there's one more big thing I want to touch on is that Marist, even when it's just one person or two, still feels like a whole team sometimes. And there was no better example of that than on the point B attack where they were so close to almost all falling. But GG Dax and Bear decided, why not? Let's just do it. Let's see what happens. Bear may have fallen, but then GG Dax picked up the mantle, decided that they were going to do this solo, and then 2v1'd to be able to take the payload to point B. And it's those kind of moments, right? Those kind of hero plays that Marist doesn't need, but they get.
I was about to say, it's not like it's necessary, especially when we talk about the time that they allow themselves to have after having some of these great rushes. It's ultimately the fact that they can, even as a duo or trio, be so impactful, whether it be on defense or the aggressive ends of things, to have that kind of pacing. It makes it so difficult for Carol to sink their teeth in and find some actually applicable ground here. Just like in your representation between Bear and GG Dax, able to hold off on the cart. They don't need to do that. They can play back and go for a full team reset like any other squad when it comes to Overwatch. But instead, the fact that they're allowed to do that makes this so difficult for Carol to find their strides.
Hopefully they're going to be able to find their strides because, again, Zephyr, we have more substitutions, but instead we're reverting back to the map 1 roster. And now we go into map 3. So we're going into Circuit Royale very soon. This is their last chance, their last opportunity to begin the reverse sweep, Zephyr.
It is tough, especially after what we've dealt with there. It does not get any easier. And especially when we talk about the fact that we are going into Escort, I think this can be some of the most difficult pacings for any team to play when it comes down to, say, what we've seen out of Marist in terms of their high aggression, their high rush ability. Timing has become absolutely crucial when we get to this game mode, and especially for someone like Carol, they need to pick up the pace, or more importantly, need to lay down the law when it comes to defending and setting down Marist. If they do not, they won't have the time to come back in this game mode.
No, they won't. You're absolutely right. Circuit Royale is a big map, right? It may not seem like it, but it's a long, straight shot to where you need to go. But those spawn rooms can really work against you. And this from Marist, this has to be just hovering over. This has to be.
It's not a chance.
There's no way, right? A Reinhardt on Circuit Royale? The Carol one makes sense.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because at least you get to kind of process and find a decent setup for shielding and support.
Marist.
But this is,
Marist.
can I just say it's as aggro as it gets.
Where are they going?
Look at this.
This squad is going over the roof. The Lifeweaver flower didn't quite go high enough. They wanted to jump over on the top and ambush them on the bridge, Zephyr. What is this team even doing anymore?
I was gonna say, when first of all, you work with Lifeweaver, which that is a discussion in itself to be had somewhere else. But trying to set that up is a problem in itself. I love this though from Adamant. We have yet to see the Ashe pick up in our games today, but this already being such a good place of control.
They're gonna try it again.
They might. Okay.
Because the flower got caught on the lip of the building.
They've got to hear this,
You're
though.
kidding me. You are kidding me. This is disgusting. And look at the Saucy was unawares. You never expect the Reinhardt from above charging you inside of a building. There's a silver lining though, because Moose and Yada has turned from a support into the DPS hero that this team needed. You can only have so much heroics when Mbonibus is here, and they are on Genji. They need to bail out their Reinhardt. End it. In the map, into everything. GG Dax, the sacrificial lamb to take Nano Me Please on a one-way trip to downtown Circuit Royale.
I was gonna say, after that last map and seeing the 2v1, can you only expect this much and more? Finally, with that push under wraps and the choke overtaken here, Dax will result over to the Winton Monkey Overwatch to find the next rush ahead. And it is immediately punished back here. Saucy on the Sojourn once again in the full step up. Love the sustained Infinity Barrier to give them their space.
Winton Monkey wanted to go up onto there and see if they could gain enough time for Maris to bring the payload to that final point A resting spot before they continue onward, but just was a lot of damage in a room. It all comes down to Moose and Yada. It's still GG Dax that's ready to come back in, and here is the Dragon Blade from Abotimus with no one really to stop it. Abotimus is having a field day right in their back line. 22 HP in a dream. Because guess what? Maris is there, and Maris is hungry.
It's a good try in the end from Nano Me Please to set this one up for a defense on the checkpoint, but ultimately it comes down to Marist on first take. We're down to a Lifeweaver ultimate, the rest charging ahead, a Bone potentially with the Pulse, but look at how far they work forward here. GG Dax will be punished, but it comes at the wife of Moo and another support line on the other side.
Expensive, they couldn't get out of there. It was such an interesting decision, and Botimus is stuck though. Meanwhile, this entire saga has been going on. The payload's been slowly moving forward, slowly.
And I like this decision from Marist in the end. Noticeably, last time around, it was GG Dax doing much of the legwork to get this one going. They make that separation, send Mbonibus there alongside him, and as a result, that's where you see that success. Now, granted, with that full reset, we'll see that full forward push again, this time around with a sound wave to support.
Oh, even with the sound barrier, GG Dax caught inside of the gravitic flux is enough damage to get rid of them. Adaman's still out of here, but Abotimus is holding on by a thread of health. Finally taken out by Saucy. Abone needs to use the recall, their target in their sights, but a quick kick in the butt from Moo is going to send them packing. And Maris pushed away Carol. Circuit Royale, this is a turnaround for them.
This is so good. Have not been able to lay any kind of control for the last minute since this coverage. You saw a Bone try to work into the back, especially Tracer ahead. Now this time around, we'll see what they can do. Blade available and the full assault from GG Dax.
The Accretion Rock keeps them over on the other side. Saucy, even with the overclock, Maris is pushed too far forward. They're not going to be able to get anything out of this. And beautiful recognition from Mbonibus to try and bring them all in. So when this Dragon Blade is finally pulled out, well, it does nothing because Maris just wrecked everyone else.
As I say, it would find damage if there was something to slice there, but at least for Maris, they've already been able to cut the mustard. Now, GG Dax and Abotimus, this is something we saw successful last time around, extending themselves deep here to delay and dissuade. Thing is, Carol is going to get control back over this point.
That is a valuable piece of information, and here with the Molten Core, GG Dax pulled up Life Grit by their Lifeweaver inside of the blossom from this tree. Carol is going to give up a smidge of space, also going to give up their primary support. Moves out of here, and a Bone is decimating everyone from Carol. Nano Me Please, the lone Winton Overwatch. What is Raw King doing to GG Dax? No, I know what they were doing. They were pulling them back in so GG Dax could jump on top of them. That's cruel.
It is just sad in that setup. And the thing we didn't even get to see there is the complete separation. Notably, it was, yes, Nano Me Please on the back supported out, but ultimately that was a 2v3 split, and remarkably, 4 on the forward end from Marist here, doing the dirty work, sending the DPSs home back to spawn. Now for the toughest choke on this map here. Once again, it is always settled up by GG Dax. This time, Nano just barely saved by the Orb of 2 here, but in the end, has to get out.
This is way too much damage that Nano Me Please takes, and GG Dax is juggling Carol right back into the spawn room. They all fall, and enough damage that these DPS players are just wow.
It doesn't even feel like they have a say here. Now with no utility, a Bone waiting in the sidelines, a Pulse Grenade on the ready here for an easy elimination, fighting out their time. A Dome or 2 sends that one out, and we'll say goodbye to Nano Me Please as a result. That's a huge loss in the end.
Bottomus has the Dragon Blade once more. Again, a testament to this Genji player and how quick they form these blades. One Kiriko in front of them, the protection Suzu delays the inevitable for just long enough. And Nano Me Please bails and saves the day for Moo and Expensive. But still, 1.9 meters, Zephyr, was all it took.
And this, even in itself, with 40 seconds on a reset, one full squad wipe will be enough to seal the deal. But ultimately, this is more than well enough of a job well done. We'll see if they can deliver. Nano Me Please off of that clutch reset. See what they can do. Adamant, once again, set up above with this Torbjorn. Doesn't want to let that one go.
No, they don't. And Saucy's gonna try and match the Tracer with a Tracer of their own. But Adamant is being thrown off of the high ground just through sheer will. A Molten Core is gonna answer the sound barrier. A Bone, thread of health, held onto the recall for far too long. That Coalescence is doing its job. It's doing the work. For Carol here, let's say a perfect usage of ultimates, utility, and everything inside of overtime. They still have a line drawn in the sand here, Zephyr. They basically have to go all of the way.
All the way. This is going to be incredibly tough for Carol to pull off in the end. A deep rush across the entire map. But we see a glimpse of glory in their final moments. And granted, it's one of the best places you can pull it off, right outside of your own spawn, where you don't even have to worry about positioning. But ultimately, it's something that we've got to see replicated here.
Carol, it's their last chance. It's their last opportunity. There's nothing left to be given after this map. And so if they can't go to where Marist did, Marist is going to be taking home the Week 4 win and kind of making the rest of the weeks much easier for them. You think about the playoffs that are slowly but steadily approaching at our doorsteps here, Zephyr.
Now for Marist, set up early. They've gotten themselves, and they themselves won't be caught out by any kind of lift, so it's going to be just the raw expertise of Carol on a full push ahead to give them their success. Surprisingly, Mbatibus and a Bone, a Widow and a Hanzo.
Not wanting to get sniped. Okay.
Oh!
Bone. Okay. Okay. All right. Whatever. You know what? It's inside of their own spawn, buddy. You could have at least let them get out of there. Still looking to go for more. Wanted to take even more heads off. That's the power of a Bone and Bottomus on these two heroes. They can just poke them down. And Carol, they need to be decisive with this dive style composition that they're working with. They need to pick their target, and they need to be quick on it. Oh, Adamant goes in. What a beautiful elimination. At the blink of an eye, it felt like. And this is what I was talking about for Carol. This is what they needed, and this is exactly what they're doing. Adamant on that Tracer.
I gotta say, I can't believe we see that setup from Mars to start today's match. And you'll see the immediate switch up. Soldier 76 upon an Ash here, but I don't even think they get that full reset. It's gonna be a point here for Carol in the end now. This next defense now even more utterly important for Marist after giving that one up.
Saucy's out of here, and Maris still has full control of that high ground. A Bone not landing the shots on the slimmer hitbox. And boo! Unless they don't see them, then it becomes such an easy affair to get rid of one of the supports. And Carol, forced to get out of there. Little sightline, little window.
Yeah. This is decent. This is notably where we saw Maris held quite a bit last time around. The same can be potentially said. A great pulse back there, but it is Umbatabus on the 76 to find those Helix rockets down off a first wipe there, and potentially more, but GG Dax with a fall and hopefully a save. They'll even it up. There we go.
It's just a firing squad down the stairway. That's all it was. You trap them all in there, throw in an anti-nade, and sit back and sip your tea, basically, is what just happened there. Carol now struggling in a literal uphill battle.
It can be done, though, here. Make the cross on the side. We saw them on some of these flank rushes, notably Adamant on this first attempt was huge in crossing the distance.
Enemy Fleas just has no health. Anytime they jump up in the air, they're gone. And even with this coalescence, GG Dax is going to waltz in there like they own the place. This is diabolical from Maris.
Oh,
rude.
Just absolutely disgusting to let someone like Dax level the field there. But you know from the back end, they're getting supported on this height of Bone and Umbatabus. Absolutely laying in with control. They've now dropped, notably though, only a minute on this excursion. Carol still has, I would say, a solid 2 to 3 attempts on this hill here.
Carol, 4 ultimates. Marist, 4 ultimates. A battle of the centuries. First one's going to be started by Nanomi, please. An anti-nade to slow them down. They're so desperate. You got to give it up to Bear for how well they were keeping their support alive. But the monkey distracting Marist long enough for Carol to come in with the 2 DPS ultimates, send them all packing. Throughout this all, though, GG Dax stopped the payload long enough, and this may give Marist an opportunity to regroup.
Already there around the edge. This was all they needed, and notice that switch. Dax back on the queen herself, getting ready to romp upon the crowd. We'll see if they cut the corner here.
The throne has been left empty for far too long. The coalescence in answer to the Kitsune rush. These anti-nades from Bear and the nano boost as well to just further the insults to injury. No one survives. No one lives. No payload to point B.
And that is the Dax we know and remember well here. But for Carroll University, this is a major improvement, especially from what we have seen on the remnants of these first 2 maps here. Now, though, they're going to have to deal with the same cut again, and this time around, getting deep onto that payload is going to be twice as hard, especially without things like the Dragon's Blade.
GG Dax also axing a question to Naomi, please moo, heartbreaking. Tried to go up to the high ground, but ran into a wall. I can't tell you how many times I've done that myself. It does make you feel a little sad, Zephyr.
It happens.
It does. Happens to the best of us, especially. But again, we're seeing this battle of the stairway going up through the underneath, and Bottomus is going to relay that information to the rest of Maris. GG Dax overstaying their welcome for far too long. Oh, what a stick! But they're going to be able to get out of this. Still Rom King forced into the background, and Adamant has to do it once more to give Carol a fighting chance.
This is the reset they needed here. Now with point on the board, they'll get just a little bit of time to make this work. Notably, though, reminder, they still got to go the whole way here if they want to pick this up.
the final stretch, the last road. One more point. It's a pick for a pick. Carroll has lost their support, lost a lot of sustainability to go with a GG Dax to seize a Genji right in front of them. And what do? Hit him with the axe. Even with that kill, Maris collapses. Carroll gets to go further.
Oh, and Nano in the back line never goes down there. As a result, gets the free pickup on a Batabus. And as a result, the full push to that final straightaway here. This is a huge issue, but notably, it comes at the cost of so many ultimates. But 4 online for Carroll. The Katsine Rush coming out right away, and the full ultimate from GG Dax.
GG Dax saw the protection Suzu being used. Saucy has no HP. They're begging their healer, their support. Give me some help. I know I'm Genji, but I need it, please. Now they're ready to get back into the action. Nano me, please. Hit with the anti-nade, and now Bob on top of that, but no. You cannot tell me that Adamant is not ready to bring Carroll into map number 4. Saucy doing the same things here as well. But an Embodiment attack visor is going to send Carroll reeling. And now with less than 45 seconds to go, the Golden Gates of Victory right at their feet. Marist wants to deny it.
Ooh. And look at this full switch up here. Batabus on to none other than the Bastion of Bone. Back on the Reaper. Nanomi, please, gonna opt for that Orisa in the end.
This is it. The final fight. Whichever team wins out here, they're gonna be, at the very least, smiling from ear to ear, I can tell you that much. But it's all vital for Carroll to stay alive.
Moo down.
But Moo is out. Bear still has this nano boost, an extra added HP boost, an extra added everything else on top of that. It's up to Saucy, it's up to Adamant to get someone out of here. A Bone was so close at death's door, but instead, Adamant knows this. They go for it, they get it. But Adamant is joining death along with it. An anti-nade to put them away, and now Bear, with a nano boost still in their possession, is not scared at all. And now Embodiment right in their back line on a bastion of all things. Carroll cannot withstand the onslaught. Carroll, piece by piece, the dominoes are falling into place for Marist. And now Marist, 3-0 here on Circuit Royale. What a showing of force.
You'll say what a showing of force, but in the end there, that was as close as it gets for Carroll University. Just barely on the edge of their toes, able to secure potentially that next map. In the end, they don't quite go all the way, but between Adamant and especially Nano Me Please in their final moments, we're laying down so much good pressure and finally, more than anything, working together in the way that we needed to see much earlier on.
I couldn't agree more, and that's also kind of what makes this a little bit heartbreaking for Carroll, in my opinion, Zephyr. They were so close, and had we seen something out of this from them for the first 2 maps, this could be a completely different series we have on our hands. Hopefully they take these lessons, though. They look back when they're in their VOD reviews or in their coaching sessions and think to themselves, all right, if we had done this earlier, abuse some of these situations more often, this may have been our week, but they could still make this into the upcoming weeks. They still have a lot of time to right the ship.
But in the end, it's still a huge success for Marist, and we cannot praise them more in their 3-0. I'll tell you what, between the likes of Batabus and a Bone there on the DPS to even some great sustained plays from Bear to set things up there. And of course, GG Dax bringing a kind of a new method to the tank as a whole. They all represented in each of their own ways, even if that last map started to get a bit dicey.
And then it makes you think as well, right? Especially for Marist, they lost they lost a series, so they're 2-1 now. This is a scary division that we're in. I am horrified at the rest of these teams, but that's going to be it for us tonight. Just to let you all know, please go ahead and hit that follow button. We are going to be we're going to be having some more upcoming stuff happening later on tonight as well. So definitely make sure, you're here for that. We're going to be having Mountain West Valorant with University of Nevada, Reno versus Utah State University. So Zephyr, still a lot of action on the docket here tonight.